Alright, so I'm going to let y'all hear my hear the lawyer man. I like him. He's cool. A criminal lawyer react to the Rolling 60's indictment. He'll break it down, the entire thing. I'll give you guys my input on it. Definitely over here putting together this breakfast. But yeah, I'm gonna let him do his thing. I'm gonna let him talk. Salute to y'all. Good morning to y'all. I know it's early. Not everybody's up this early, but I figure I'll switch it up.
And it's total self-snitching. And every one of these videos, every one of these Instagram posts, every one of these, you gotta check in or it's gonna get hot.
Now, look how he started the video out. Notice how the lawyer started the video. He said in every one of the videos, snitching. That was his main focus in the opening of the video. Self snitching. Pay attention.
All that is gonna bite him in the lawyer reacts. I'm Bruce Lewis, your very own board certified criminal defense lawyer. Today we are reacting to the Rolling 60's indictment in LA. Rolling 60's is a gang out in the gang. It's a club. It's not a gang. Well, it is a bunch of people who are getting indicted for RICO in the LA area. And before we get to that, though, first of all, I can't remember who gave me this, but somebody gave me. Well, I think her card is here. Mary, whatever. Mary W. Mary, you crochet these nice coasters for me. Thank you. And they match the painting behind me, which is really nice. And it's just a nice gesture to talk about Michael. And she sent a nice prayer. And I got some other cards here today, too, about 3 or 4 cards. Every day I'm getting about 3 or 4 cards with well wishes about Michael, the former content genius. My son who passed away in November from a drug overdose. And I'm telling you, if you know somebody like that, step in, do whatever you can. And don't stop, don't quit. Don't give them a lot of shit for being an addict. Be as supportive as you can. And if you have to do an intervention, do an intervention. If you have to, commit them. I mean, fucking commit them. I mean, if Michael was in jail right now for doing drugs, he'd be alive. So sometimes that helps. And I didn't realize how bad it was until it was too late. But that is what it is. So just remember that it's really important to support anybody that you know that's struggling with addiction. And sometimes it just means giving them a meal. One of the last things I did with Michael was I washed his hair because he thought bugs were all over. And I was just trying to be kind to him. He was 6 feet tall, 127 pounds when he died. I don't mean to keep bringing it up, but he is the reason I'm even here doing this. And so, anyway, and then also we have some news. Grandma's still in the basement, and she's going to probably resurface around Los Angeles. And it kind of started in 85 or thereabouts. And Big U was one of the figures in the industry who came directly from the street.
Pardon me about that, y'all. He went off a little tangent talking about family and everything like that. But pardon me. Let's get back to the indictment.
According to boss, Valtown. But he's from the Arlington and Slauson, which is known as the 60's territory. The Arlington gang was led by Big U's cousin Chili Capone, and as time went on, Arlington guys would call themselves Rolling 60's as they were from the same area. Now, here's the thing. Big U and Chili did not start the gang, but they're like second generation. These are not people to mess with, and they all have, a teardrop, not necessarily a teardrop, but they have earned one anyway. You know what that means. And Big U, who's like the main guy, claims not to have any directly joined. He didn't directly join the 60's, but that the affiliation was a natural one, as he was an AG member, Arlington gang member, and he built his reputation on being an excellent fighter, learning martial arts, growing up, and possessing natural leadership skills. And when Chili Capone died, they all die young, right? He became the next leader of the AGs, or Arlington Gang. And as the years went on, that just kind of morphed into the rolling 60s. So they've indicted about 20 guys. I'm doing one right now where they've indicted well over 45 guys, and they're continuing to indict people. They're pulling people out of prison who are serving 30-year sentence on a homicide to indict them on a murder case. So they never get out. I'm telling you, this is not. If you're sitting there thinking, hey, it's a cool idea to be in a gang, or if you're thinking, I have to do this, think again, because this is happening all over the country. It happened in Atlanta, and we know what happened there. The prosecutor fucked that case up royally, and Young Thug had just amazing lawyers, and they didn't give up, which is just amazing. As the crack epidemic came in, the focus shifted to getting money, which brought more enemies. More enemies meant more firearms, and the gangs now had unlimited access. Big U would also rob dealers, and after attempting to rob and uncover an officer who posed as a dealer, he was sent to prison for 23 years, serving only 12 before going to prison. Big U managed to, up to 1990, he would go on to sign with Death Row Records after Big U went to prison. All these guys. You're in a gang, guess what? You're going to prison or you're going to die. One of the two. And it doesn't matter how long and usually it's either for large drug crimes, and now it's RICO, which they can take any little thing and say it was in furtherance of a conspiracy. So it's a conspiracy. Remember what we said, it's an agreement between two or more people and an act to do a criminal act, and then an act in furtherance of that conspiracy. They have a motto in the rolling 60s, and the motto is, you're not 60s until you smoke one. You know what that means? To smoke on your ops. We talked about that. Imagine wanting to be part of an organization that has a motto basically saying, you ain't a real one unless you backdoor and kill your brother. Example, what happened to Nipsey Hussle and Sam Van Nagus. The amount of fame and clout Nipsey brought to them, only for a tweet down J-Cat from his hood to kill him. Oh, that's from Wood Boy Mess, whatever that is. And some of the stuff is just put together by our team here, and we're really trying to highlight, and what I'm trying to do is highlight the dangers of being in a gang and the dangers of not building a good life. It might seem like a good idea at the time because you might be intimidated, you might have this, you might have that, and you might not have a choice. You might think you don't have a choice. Find a mentor. If you're 10 years old, you gotta have somebody that's a strong. If you're 10-year-old black kid in the hood, in the inner city, if you're in Chicago, LA, Minneapolis, or New York, Detroit, Houston, Dallas, Jacksonville, Florida. I mean, there's over 50 unsolved homicides in the last 5 years, and it's probably grown since then because that's an old statistic. But if you're a 10, 12, 13-year-old kid, find somebody close to you, that's not in the shit. It's not, somebody that's solid, because there are men out there, just solid men, and gravitate towards them every day build it with that. Listen to your mother, listen to your auntie, listen to your sisters, because they're not in that shit, and if they are, make other plans. I hate to sound like an old fucking white dude who doesn't know what he's talking about, but I see this every day. I see the aftermath of this shit because I'm a criminal defense lawyer, so I know what the fuck I'm talking about. I'm not just some, Mr. Rogers dude putting on his fucking sneakers and his cardigan, sitting by my fake train and trying to talk about shit I don't know anything about. So let's watch the press conference. And this is what I want you guys to take note of. They're mining social media to get you indicted. Proven otherwise. Let me talk a little bit about Mr. Henley and the gang here. As I said, Mr. Henley is a widely known leader within the rolling 60s. He rose to prominence in that gang decades ago, and he has since been a fixture on the internet talk shows and podcasts, all things that law enforcement had looked at closely as part of this investigation. Oh, gee, what did I tell you? He's on podcasts. He's, I like the thing. What did the mob fucking hate more than anything else? Notoriety, attention. They wanted everything quiet. Why do you think John Gotti, wound up where he was? Remember, he was the Dapper Don? It's no different than these guys. And why is that? They wanted it quiet because they didn't want to fucking make noise. Because the empty barrel is the loudest one. He has maintained the image of an entertainment industry entrepreneur, running a music label, and of somebody who gives back to the community here in Los Angeles, funding a South LA-based charity, developing options, which purports to help at-youth risk escape gang life and escape the perils of gangs in high-crime areas. The fact, well, don't think for 1 minute that won't be part of the defense strategy. The facts alleged in the complaint paint a very different picture. It is one of a murderer, a thief, a liar, and a cheat, and the criminals that enabled him. For example, Mr. Henley engaged in a murder of a musician signed to his label in 2021 and dumped the victim's body in Las Vegas off of the I-15 freeway. He then attempted to evade and obstruct the investigation into the murder, including ordering witnesses not to speak with law enforcement. Henley's criminal enterprise also engaged in other crimes, including transporting prostitutes across state lines, extorting strip clubs, marijuana dispensaries, and other businesses, and fraudulently applying for COVID loans. So this sounds just like organized crime. Does it not? That's how they're being treated. In the form of a business relief loan. On that application, Mr. Henley falsely stated that his music label, Unique Music, operated at a $200,000 profit in 2019 and was entitled to government assistance, despite the reality that the company had operated at a loss and was ineligible for such relief. Finally, Mr. Henley is accused of embezzling. Some of those document crimes are so easy to prove for the government, but the bigger picture.
See, one thing they focus on is that his company was in the negative. So it's like, that's a lesson to people. If your company's in the negative, there's certain things that you can't file. You're in the negative.
Is that they are part of an organization, and that is how the RICO part of it plays into it. And so it's an overt act in furtherance of the conspiracy. Donations made by celebrities, professional athletes, and businesses to his charity, Developing Options, which, as I said, purports to give South LA at-risk youth alternatives to gang violence, drugs, and other criminal activity. So if you have a charity like Donald Trump did and other people, you can't just take that money and use it for your own purposes. And you ever hear that show, that Cars for Kids, 187, whatever the fuck that is? Remember that? 1877 cars for kids, K-A-R-S cars for kids. I think that is just a total scam. I could be wrong, and that's just my opinion. I don't have anything to back it up, but it sounds like bullshit. They have, what do they have? They've got ads nationally. You hear that ad all the time. Who believes that? That's just for kids? Nobody does. Stealing from their own charity to do whatever, and then doing other things that are supposedly for and all of a sudden you're looking at your credibility when you get on the stand. It doesn't fly. Henley used this charity as a front. He used it to conceal his fraudulent activities, his criminal enterprises activities from and evade detection from law enforcement. If convicted on the racketeering conspiracy, he and his co-conspirators face approximately a 20-year federal prison sentence. I want to thank our federal law enforcement partners, our state law enforcement partners who brought about the result here today. The Los Angeles Metropolitan Gang Task Force from the FBI, comprised of FBI agents, LAPD officers, IRS criminal investigation, the U.S. Department of Justice Inspector General's Office, Los Angeles Police Department, the North Las Vegas Police Department. This case is a great example of state and federal law enforcement working together to address harm from a criminal enterprise. Also want to thank our... Here all the organizations involved in this case. You get a lawyer involved. First of all, I guarantee these guys don't have a lot of money. I mean, some might have a little bit of money, but certainly not anywhere near the resources that the federal government has. That's for damn sure. And not only that, you don't have the resources that all these different agencies have specializations within their own departments, like the IRS, like the Postal Service, like the Gang Strike Force, like the U.S. Attorney's Office and the District Attorney's Office. So if you look at Operation Drawdown, you've got 19. We're going to black out their names because I just don't think it's fair to plaster that shit all over the place when you haven't been convicted of anything yet. But look at the people up there. You got the IRS, you got the LAPD, you got the U.S. Attorney's Office, you've got Department of Justice. You know, you've got all these different logos. Now, I'm going to read you from the.
So he's basically giving us like a political aspect of it. It's showing us why this case is so important for them, you know, to score the case, meaning win the case in police terms. It's important for them, very political. They're saying that because of all the business that he was able to do within LA County, LA County may lose money because they're going to be afraid to hand money out to certain businesses.
Indictment. In February 2021, FBI, Los Angeles Metropolitan Task Force on Violent Gangs, launched an investigation into Henley's criminal enterprise, the Big U Enterprise, and its association with the Rolling 60's neighborhood Crips street gang, the Rolling 60's, which the Los Angeles Metro Task Force Against Gangs, Violent Gangs, began investigating in August 2020. The Big U Enterprise is a mafia-like organization that utilizes Henley's stature and long-standing association with the Rolling 60's and other street gangs to intimidate businesses and individuals in Los Angeles. The Big U Enterprise is led by Henley. You just heard about Henley. Henley is a self-admitted member and original gangster, or OG, of the Rolling 60's, a violent criminal street gang with associated sets in several other states. Henley is widely regarded as a leader within the Rolling 60's. Now, Eugene Henley, known as Big U, aka Unk, aka Draw, aka Hannibal, aka Hannibal Muhammad, aka Anybody Kill, aka Dave Austin, aka anyway, so many aliases, right? That's, I mean, when they start reading that shit in open court, it doesn't look good for you, aka Bear Claw, for a violation of 18 U.S. Code Section 1962D, racketeering, influence, and corrupt organizations conspiracies. And what they're doing now is they're treating them like organized crime. It makes it easier to prove and to get them off the street. And I guarantee you some of these guys are probably already in prison. How do they build a case like this? Well, how do you think? Two ways. Snitching and self-snitching. So the sources to build the case include confidential human sources, surreptitious recording, in other words, wiretapping, including Title III wiretap search warrants for social media, iCloud and Google accounts, financial records from both individuals and companies and organizations, toll records showing communications between conspirators, victims, and Big U Enterprise members and associates, cell site location information from numerous phones, including Henley's, these guys, City of Los Angeles records, public filings, and other publicly available information, and interviews of witnesses and victims. The investigation employed various additional investigative techniques, including surveillance, vehicle tracking, poll cameras, recording devices, interaction with confidential sources, and information gleaned through undercover purchases of firearms and narcotics. So they're going to have video and audio of transactions. You know, oh, here's some guns. Guess what happens with a gun? With a 5-year mandatory minimum on top of whatever the underlying conviction is. It's called 924C. And the issue with this is this is going to be a document intensive case and a discovery intensive case. It's not going to just be talk. It's not going to just be witnesses, but they're going to have plenty of those too. So just when you think your brother next to you is your friend, all of a sudden he shows up on the witness stand because he's fucked if he doesn't. So the United States just for the Central District of California authorized multiple Title III wire and electronic interception orders for telephones being used by certain subjects of the investigation, including Henley and some of these other guys.
So the United States District Court approved, then the United States District Court approved basically the wiretap. The United States did that. So, it's not like they're saying the Central District Court of California authorized this. So this is a federal, they handled the federal cases. It could have taken a lot for them to get to sign off on these things, or they just built a lot of the information and then towards the end went and got whatever they needed to do. But this is extensive, man.
The court also authorized interception of audio and visual nonverbal conduct via closed circuit TV through installation of video and audio bugs in a location. So what does that tell you? I mean, remember what got John Gotti? There was a surreptitious recordings that they had the social club. Well, they went up above the social, the social club that they had, and they were hanging out in this woman's apartment, and they put the recording device in that apartment, and John Gotti is heard on the recording wanting it to order a hit on somebody. So let me tell you something about the federal government. The federal government is patient, motivated, and competent. We're talking about, probably a 5-year investigation. No Jumper, which we were on No Jumper, or I was on, Mike and I were on No Jumper a while back. They released a statement. In addition to DJ Vlad, also expressed shock at the allegations against Big U, which he denied. In fact, Vlad claimed that Henley alleged that he was never part of the Rolling 60s neighborhood Crips gang at the center of the RICO case. He also suggested that snitches and the spread of incriminating evidence on social media is what possibly led to this. Not only not any specific media coverage. Here's the thing: the media doesn't cover this shit at all. I don't never hear anything about this. All these statements line up with Adam 22's response to similar accusations, claiming that No Jumper had nothing to do with the case. The outlet's name reportedly appeared various times in the indictment due to Rick Bailey's previous work with him. So this is Adam 22. I'm not seeing anything that says anything. I'm not seeing anything that says anything about stuff he did in the last 2 years since he's been fucking with us. Adam 22 said, "Oh, Rick Bailey, I do."
So I think it's crazy how they literally have like stuff in podcasts that's like recent. This stuff that Adam is saying, the stuff that they're mentioning in this indictment is within the last 4 weeks. If this stuff is recent, that means that they pretty much, if you want to look at it like this, the podcast pretty much helped the feds wrap the case up. Honestly, the podcast helped the feds wrap the case up from them talking so much.
White people from the streets sometimes get caught up in federal RICO indictments or whatever the fuck this shit is. We're going to be documenting the whole thing, helping them along the way. Anybody acting like this is because of No Jumper. No Jumper is the antidote. So there you go with that. So what is the responsibility of media outlets when it comes to figures like Big U manufacturing an air of intimidation. The rolling 60s, if these media outlets employ people from the gangs that are at risk, well, what is the responsibility? You know, I mean, one of the things, you know, if somebody comes on your program and they release information, or if they have their own podcast, anything they say is fair game. It's statements of a party opponent, so it comes into evidence. And here's why it's important when you see the pervasive nature of what these guys are doing. They ran a thing called a check-in, and this is in the indictment. Henley and Big U Enterprise are widely known for requiring what's called a check-in for out-of-town entertainers or gang members in Los Angeles. So if you have a big enough organization, the Rolling 60s was decent size, and you are intimidating people like anybody that's coming into town, as Henley described in the document, if I don't answer the phone, it can be death for someone else. Everywhere, there's someone like me. You can't put a monetary value on his touch in hip-hop. After more than 3 decades as Rolling 60s members and several years managing famous hip-hop artists, Henley was widely regarded as an original gangster, or OG. In the docuseries, the record producer Andre Young, aka Dr. Dre, explained that it's very helpful to have an OG who can clear the streets with this operating environment. Henley instituted the concept of the check-in when hip-hop artists and other celebrities visit Los Angeles. So here's how it works. The individual must check in or meet with the local street representative of said city to pay a tax or a fee for permission to both to move about freely and to have an event or conduct business in that other city without the risk of harassment. Or, doesn't it sound just like the fucking mafia? It sounds just like it if it's happening. Keep in mind, they deserve the presumption of innocence. Now, all we're doing is just reporting on what the indictment says. We're not putting a comment on the guilt or innocence of any particular person. So let's continue. While Henley and other supporters attempt to persuade the public that the check-in provides safety and security for those who do so, as set forth herein, Henley and Big U Enterprise also manufacture the very danger they purport to protect. In other words, you don't pay the tax, you're going to pay the price. So let's just continue a little bit more. I know I'm kind of reading a lot here, but it's kind of important so you get a flavor of what they're talking about. Henley also provided examples of individuals who do not check in with him until it's too late, such as the rap artist Taquan Terrell Bowman, aka Quando Rondo, when Henley discussed in another interview who was later targeted in a murder for hire plot where his associate was killed. When defending this practice in interviews, Henley had in interviews. What is that? That's self-fucking snitching. When defending this practice in interviews, Henley has stated that it is no different than when a Learjet flies over the United States airspace. They want to know who you are. You're not a fucking government organization, baby. You're just not. Henley said his practice is no different, which I believe indicates that he purports to own and control Los Angeles through the Big U Enterprise. So he said, now Henley had his own fucking podcast called The Check-In. So you're not. So there's no such thing as a check-in. Let's talk about your podcast called The Check-In. The opening theme, when you hop off the plane, check-in. Penthouse suite, check-in. When your feet hit the street, check-in. Because if you're not, shit get hot. You better check in. And who said that? This is the beginning of this podcast. When you hop off the plane, check in. Penthouse suite, check in. When your feet hit the street, check in. Because if not, shit get hot. You better check it in. Hey.
Welcome to the West Side. Check it in.
Welcome to the West Side. Checking in. The indictment describes an incident involving rappers Wiz Khalifa, T.I. Harris, and other artists who were booked.
Now the question is, are they going to be cooperants in the process of making sure that the feds can seal the case, as far as close the case, win it in court, by furthermore being able to have these individuals willingly come to court and testify to the things that are being said herein, the documents on the rolling 60s, or they're going to subpoena them and make them come in and testify because they're mentioning they're mentioning big name artists at this point in the indictment. And to mention of Wiz Khalifa, like, come on, we don't hear his name a lot because he's done the work he's done has allowed him the silence in music. Okay, so that is a very important part of the indictment. Are they going to subpoena these individuals to have them come in and lock up this case and just win it? Because if so, that's like Eugene's sister said, he may not be coming home for a long time.
To appear in Los Angeles nightclubs, right? And Hanley demanded $30,000 cash from the promoter plus 30% of the proceeds of the fucking door. The rappers were no shows, but Hanley demanded the money anyway. And so I mean, this is just your typical mafia shakedown. I mean, it's they didn't invent this. The Italians did it a long time ago. Hanley reportedly said that they were going to be 5,600 in his motherfucker, and that's going to be a point up. And if we got to tear the motherfucker up, we're going to tear it up. So be ready for that. Be ready for that. Bring me the money. So when the rappers didn't show up, Hanley and his associates took the promoter into the back room of the club where they were paid $30,000. $30,000 for nothing. According to a cooperating witness, aka a snitch, AB and his associates fixed the dice game and cheated NBA players out of millions of dollars using teased dice. You know, I mean, you don't hear some guys. You don't hear of going out for work. You know what work is. It's women. Following that game, Hanley directed a group of Big U Enterprise associates to rough up AB, who did not check in with Hanley, and to get the money back from them on behalf of the NBA players. Multiple persons involved in the incident who were interviewed by the feds, including former NBA players, confirmed that Hanley was paid $100,000 for negotiating return of the debt. In another 2022 incident, NBA players got into it with boxer AB after AB cheated a current NBA star out of $1.5 million and a former NBA All-Star out of $5 million. God, Hanley charged the NBA players $100,000 to get their money back from AB. The current and former NBA All-Stars star players were identified as Draymond Green of the Golden State Warriors and retired NBA legend Shaquille O'Neal.
Draymond Green, legendary NBA player Shaquille O'Neal. You see the words they use? Pay attention to the words, because it's words, right? When you're trying not to make a suspect or the accused look like you're attacking them, you use gentle words in the courtroom. Mistake, misguided. You don't call them a liar, thief. But
I mean, these are not little dollars we're talking about, and these aren't little figures that we're talking about.
Checking in is just a way of letting people know where you're at so you could get robbed.
That's fact. We know when you're getting off the plane, we know what hotel or Airbnb you're going to. You shouldn't do it at all. Come on the plane, get 2 hotel rooms, 1 for partying in, and then 1 to sleep in. And do not get no Airbnb. That's easy access. These young, to start.
Checking in.
What the fuck? That's.
you see how he's laughing? He's laughing. I didn't even see this. This is my first time watching this, but I'm watching it for my first time so that way I can be able to talk with you guys. But you can tell by the way that he's laughing like that, because it's like, are you serious? Did you really just say all of that? Why? Why do we have to know that? Everything is not for everybody. We don't need to know everything. Ain't that much money in the world in content making for me to just get up here and tell y'all a whole bunch of shit that I did that nobody knows about. not even the police. I'm gonna tell y'all all of this shit that I did that nobody knows about, just so I can be able to what? Get money, build content, make people think that I'm real. I don't need y'all niggas to know that I'm real. My goals can be accomplished without the world knowing what the hell I did or what I'm doing or what I was involved in. That's nuts.
It's good advice, and I would tell anybody to do the same thing. So so I am the task master at telling everybody not to self snitch. But this whole check-in thing is part of the control and organization that is a foray into other crimes.
Movie production in the hood. That's how we do it, man.
Top flight, baby. Yeah.
GB running this here movie set in the hood.
Come on out here.
Coming out here and checking in with GB, getting his movies done. You better know it.
So how are you going to say that there's no such thing as a check-in when you're doing a self-snitching video saying that they're checking in?
Sure. Anytime you want to do movies in the hood, just check it in. We can make sure it's done. Movies, videos. But if you don't check it in,
Oh well. Let's go check your ass out.
we're gonna check you in, all right. We're gonna check in all of your equipment. We're gonna check in all of your equipment.
And the I think the Jewish people call it chutzpah. You know, I mean, the chutzpah that you have, and he's laughing, and because guess what? If it ain't online, it didn't happen, right? And so, I mean, that is what we have, what we call total self snitching. So, but I mean, that's not the only one. So Big U says to Flacco that if he wants to visit the Rolling 30s territory, he has to make a donation to the hood. Big U tells him that it's $1,500 if he wants to make that happen. Another, should we go see if we have to go there and not check in? No, I'm not fucking doing that. So we did some work on.
First of all, you hear that? If you want to come, you gotta pay a donation. If you want to come, you gotta pay a donation. I can make it happen. Nigga. No. I done been cool with all type of gang members. Do you understand? That's not a crime. It's not a crime to be associated with gang members. From prison to the streets. Yes. A lot of the people that I rubbed shoulders with and ran in contact with are gang affiliated. A lot of them are. Why? Because in the greater New York area, it just happens to be like that. New York City, upstate New York, tri-state area, Jersey, Connecticut, PA, it goes like that's just how it is. Like there's no secret, right? But that does not mean that they're gonna say, yo, I here. Yo, you trying to do XYZ? No. When I tell you I respect the ones that I actually talk to, when I tell you I respect them, I love them like brothers, like we got the same mother. Why? Because all the time that I've known them, not only did they change their life, but they're still a savage. I know they got it in them because I've seen it before, but they changed their life. And they never tried to pull me into that life. That's why. It's all right. Not everybody stays with the bullshit. The ones that I love, don't get me wrong. Some people can't leave the life alone. That don't mean I don't love them or I love them less or it makes them less than. No, it doesn't make them less than. It doesn't make me better than them because they can't leave it alone and these other gentlemen have. No, I love them the same exact way. But not everybody's trying to pull you into the life just because you're affiliated with them. You understand? So come on, man. This is silly shit. And ain't nobody ever told me, yo, you gotta pay a fee. I done walked through the craziest neighborhoods in Brooklyn, in East New York, Sutter and Hinsdale. Brownsville. Do you understand? Like I walked in some of the craziest neighborhoods in New York. I've been around the country, but more importantly, in my own backyard, I've been to some wild neighborhoods, and I ain't never had a nigga tell me I had to pay a fee ever. Because if I was going, it was either for money or it was for family or a friend kind of situation. It was never nothing where I was doing something illegal. And even if I was trying to have fun, you gotta think, he's telling people to pay a fee when they're just trying to come through and have fun. NBA All-Star Weekend, this, and that. Check in, pay a fee. You want to come out here and do this and shoot a music video? Pay a fee. You want to shoot a movie? Pay a fee. You want to do a TV show? Pay a fee. This nigga's dumb.
Quando Rondo in the past. And in early 2021, Big U, who is a well-known figure in the Los Angeles gang culture and a former rolling 60s Crip, probably current, spoke about Quando Rondo reaching out to him for protection after the King Von shooting in November 2020. Quando Rondo was affiliated with NBA YoungBoy's crew, was involved.
Yo, that's a whole nother story I forgot about. Quando Rondo. I forgot all about that. Yo. Yo, I totally forgot about Quando Rondo. Wow, I forgot about Quando Rondo. Holy shit. Boy, oh boy. Damn, I forgot about Quando Rondo. Let's see. All right, give me a second. Pardon.
in the altercation where King Von was killed by Quando Rondo associate Lil Tim. Big U mentioned in an interview that Quando Rondo had contacted him for support, but only after the situation had escalated. Why the fuck would you say that on camera? I mean, this Big U is just he likes his celebrity status.
The youngsters get out.
Even the lawyer is saying it. Why would you say that on camera? Now check this out, right? I'm gonna say some thought-provoking things when I speak, and throughout the process of me doing breakdowns, I say things that'll make you think, open your mind up, like that scene in Total Recall where the dude is inside the chamber talking to Arnold Schwarzenegger, and the dude comes out his stomach, little baby-looking monster. Open your mind, Quaid. Open your mind, right? So check this out. It's crazy that Big U said that on camera, right? That Quando Rondo came to him for protection, basically. But what's even crazier is the fact that nobody thought that was crazy back then. Nobody made a big noise of it and said, Big U, why are you on camera talking like that, bro? You should stop talking like that. If it happened behind the scenes, it happened behind the scenes, but we didn't. Nobody came out, because a lot of the times we'll see people come out and say things like, hey, I had a conversation with such and such. I'm not going to disclose what we said, but I spoke to him, and moving forward, things will be better. It happens when celebrities have outbursts, things like that. But nobody came out and said, yo, he's wilding. Why would he say that? I didn't see any podcasts that discussed, hey, did you hear how Big U came out and admitted that he's... So does that make him look different? Because now, as a community activist, why are you saying that a rapper who is a known gang affiliate came to you for protection? That's not your field. You're into community organizations and nonprofits. You have nothing to do with security or protection of the human body. or anyone for that matter, unless it's you and your family. You are supposed to be a community organizer, Eugene, a nonprofit runner, Eugene. You're not supposed to be giving anybody protection. So the fact that you admitted that just goes to show you're slow.
Out, and then they have to have an experience before they realize I should have checked in.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Or I should have called, or I should have been moving.
Here's why that check-in thing is so important to their organization. It is a steady stream of cash flow. You don't check in, I don't collect the tax.
Certain way. And so they get out and they might be under your banner, but then they not respecting the banner. They ain't calling you. They got your number. Mm-hmm. They know who you is, but they feel like they bigger than the program. And you got a lot of dudes, like when I was here last time, that claim my neighborhood just in this music shit, but they don't really fuck with us until it's a problem. Then they call it. Like Quando Rondo. I just showed Envy. Like, you can't call me now. You can't call me when the fire hot. Mm-hmm. You didn't fuck with me before that. You know what I mean? You have my number.
Tell me that just doesn't sound like control.
Yo, when you hear him speak like that, right? From our point of view, we like, okay, cool. He's doing what he's doing. You know what I mean? It is what it is. That's him. Whoever that is, that's him. As men, we're not judging another man. That's what you do. But from the DA, police officer, innocent white person, community, nonprofit partners, organizers, they're looking at that like he's Wilson Fisk, like he's the kingpin. Because to me, that's how he's talking. You're talking aggressive. You don't sound like a person running a nonprofit, Eugene. You don't sound like a Eugene. You sound like a Big U. You sound like a Wilson Fisk. You sound like a kingpin. Like, you can't get on a large platform, a radio station, nationally syndicated in multiple areas. You can't get on a platform like that and say, I just showed Envy just now. You can't hit me up when it's hot, Quando Rondo. What do you mean? Big U literally told on himself, like, in so many different ways. And even the lawyer is saying it. Even the lawyer is letting y'all know. Continue.
Control. And that is what the indictment is trying to prove. And the government is trying to prove.
You could have called me, you could have did all that. You know what I mean? But he was around about, but how is that fair to me?
I mean, here's the deal. If I was going into LA, into their territory, I suppose, I probably would check in just because you wouldn't want the hassle of and the repercussion of not checking in. And that's what they're designed to do. It's like he forgot what he was doing was illegal. I mean, and it's total self-snitching. And every one of these videos, every one of these Instagram posts, every one of these, you got to check in or it's going to get hot, all that shit is going to bite him in the ass. Loose Cannon, he was, and now this episode has been deleted evidently. He was a No Jumper. He talks about the robbery of a dispensary. What gets said in the podcast ends up in the indictment. Watch this.
Look at that, y'all. What gets said in the podcast ends up in the indictment. What gets said in the podcast ends up in the indictment. Wow. Come on. What gets said in the podcast is brought up in the indictment. Do y'all hear that?
Counting everything, right? And we be like, how the fuck they get the? Oh, well, we're gonna just give them like $40,000 back and stuff like that. But because it's actually putting us in paperwork, right? And
why in the hell are you saying this? I mean, if you're so smart to rob somebody and get big money, how come you're not smart enough to keep your fucking mouth shut?
And like doing like real police shit. I seen the nigga get like 20 guns, and when he got 20 guns, he's selling them to the homies. But I'm like, why are you writing down the serial numbers? So it's like he was doing like shit like that, and I didn't catch on. So it was like I'm waking up now. You get what I'm saying? Because
you've been asleep a long fucking time.
I'm high tech shit.
I'm his right hand man. You get what I'm saying? So when it came down to like dirt and stuff like.
That's another thing too. Loose Cannon shouldn't have said. He shouldn't have said, "I'm his right hand man." You see, if you feel somebody's being indicted, you feel somebody's gonna go down, you feel like the feds are on to somebody, you don't be around them. You don't speak on them openly. You don't speak on them publicly behind closed doors, because this is the thing. Just because you speak to somebody in the public, right? Or just because you don't speak to someone in the public, you think, oh, I'm not speaking on the platform, or I'm not speaking on the news. This doesn't matter, right? That's what you think, right? Well, check this out. Imagine speaking to somebody who is close to you, or speaking to a few people who are close to you, and unbeknownst to you, you don't know that these people are wearing wires. So now, yeah, we have the regular conversations about family, kids, work, careers, new businesses, new ventures. But at the same time, while these conversations are being conducted, I don't even know that there's an entire wiretap that's being conducted that's separate from our conversation. So while we're talking and having this conversation, it's being recorded and listened to by individuals. So that's why it's even good when you don't talk to anybody about people that you know that are being watched by the feds. And that's just a fact. If you are being watched by the feds, right? If a person is being watched by the feds and you know that they're being watched by the feds, don't speak about that person in public or in private. Listen to what I'm saying. It'll save your life, because you don't know who's wearing a wire. I'm talking about something as simple as a speeding ticket. Something as simple as a speeding ticket. They will use these things against the people that you love, and they will put pressure on them. Hey, we'll dig back all the way over here. We'll do this, we'll do that. They'll plant things just to get somebody. They'll find who the weakness is in your life and do something to get them to go against you. It's simple. So this is why you don't play. The more clean you are, the more clean cut you are and operate in life, the less any entity can do anything to you. And that's just a fact. When you get involved in the darkness and you in the life, now the big entities can come after you and say, hey, we're gonna get you. And nobody's gonna believe you. When you're not involved, they can't do that to you. Can't do it to you.
Like that.
I'm his right hand man. How do you back off of that when you're in trial?
Like that. I'm gonna get it. You get what I'm saying? And then, like, one day.
You know why he wanted to get a dude back to 40, right?
Dude, I don't like it when you do things that hurt you. I mean, I just don't. But give me a break. Now listen to this. So this is from the indictment, okay? We went from that video clip now to the indictment. According to victim one, when victim one arrived at Henley's Arlington premises, Robinson, Williams, and other robbers were there, as were the proceeds of the robbery. Inside, Henley told victim one, "That's how you rob yourself." Henley then demanded $10,000 from victim one to ensure other robberies did not occur. Henley also directed victim one to identify other businesses or dispensaries that could be similarly robbed, and assured victim one that the Big U enterprise would compensate him for identifying any robberies. And if you do that, you're in Dutch with them as well. Henley then provided a portion of the robbery proceeds back to, by the way, you can have some of your fucking money back. But here's why this is important. Now, remember, we just watched that video clip. Williams later admitted to this robbery and the aftermath on a podcast, on the No Jumper podcast, after stating that Williams was Henley's right-hand man. Williams explained, so basically he'll manipulate things. We'll go and do something, and then the same fellas we do it to show up at the house like 10 minutes later as we're trying to count everything. You know, we just saw that. So that wound up in the indictment. So you can't make this shit up, and you can't make it any easier for law enforcement. So central to the accusations in this indictment is the murder of a 21-year-old aspiring rapper, signed to Henley's
Big grippy for the stain, big Remy for the pain. Hold on. New bitch, new chain, new whip, I'm a slave. Hold on. New whip, I'm a slave.
So you got, racketeering, you got extortion, you got murder, you got drugs, you got all kinds of things that are endemic. So, and this is where it talks about that in the indictment.
To have, they say you extorted athletes and known celebrities. They say that you killed a young man, you unalived him. There's news that you possibly could have been involved in other bodies. You took some of the proceeds from one account, transferred it to your account on multiple occasions through your organization, and on incidents that they were able to piece together where they said that other people were extorted on specific dates. They saw the transfers. Oh, this was a $40,000 extortion, 30,000 transferred in your account, 40,000. And a lot of the instances within this indictment, right, in this paperwork, they're saying in the complaint that if the complainant, right, said that they were robbed of a 40,000, 50,000, that exact number, based upon their investigation, when they look into they're looking at your bank statements, and your bank statement is stating, oh snap, on the day of, the day after, the week of, that the victim said that they were extorted, the suspect, Mr. Eugene Henley, bank statements show that he made a large transfer in his account in the amount of which the victim said they were taken up. Like, that's insane. You got to be the dumbest. You got to be the dumbest. There's no way I'm getting $50,000 in one whop for making people pay tax and putting pressure on people. I'm getting all that in one whop, and I'm gonna keep doing it year after year after year after year. He's dumb. Like, he's a dumb old dude. Like, some old folks is not as smart as we think they are. And I'm gonna keep it a buck. With $50,000, do you know how many properties that you can go and assume? But now let's talk real estate. You know how many properties you can go and assume on a sub-2? Because on a sub-2, you could do 0 down, 0 interest. But also on a sub-2, if you really want the property and make it a sweet deal, you drop a few $1,000s on it. especially if the property's already in good condition. But if they just want to offload it, yes, with $50,000, and this is multiple times of him 20, 30, 50 over here, 80 over here. He's transferring 200, 100,000 over here. Like, come on, man. Like, all that money you get, 50 some years old, and you didn't think to say, let me invest in some properties, let me invest in some real estate, let me invest in this, invest in some art, buy some expensive art pieces, get insurance policies on the art pieces, borrow from the insurance policy, ILU. ILUs, you get 90% of the policy back, and it lasts all the way up to you 100 and plus years old. And you can borrow from that policy cash 90% for your entire life, as long as you put it back. Come on, man. Come on, man. Now, I don't got everything in the world, but I definitely got this. So, like I said, I'm going to talk knowledge to y'all. This man is getting $40,000, $50,000 from putting pressure on people and putting taxes on people to check in. But instead of taking that money and investing it, $40,000, $50,000, you can go and get several properties right now. Several properties with $40,000 or $50,000. Not just one, not two, not three, several. You understand? With down payments to assume the property, subject to. We can talk about that a whole another time. So viewers, y'all that are watching, I'm live on 5 different right now. We're on 3 YouTubes and 2 Facebooks. So for all of you guys that are watching, if you would like to talk about subject to, if you want me to make a video on that, I'll definitely do that for you. So you guys know how you can take small amounts of money or little to none and get these properties and make money. But here, let me let the lawyer talk.
January 20, 2021, 5 days before the murder and 3 days before Henley and Robinson drove from Los Angeles to Las Vegas, RW recorded a diss, short for disrespect, song at NLVPD, later obtained. So they got the diss track. In it, RW, Rashawn Williams, rapped about the person who had the money, that RW would be shot in the face for thinking it's shit funny, and referenced the .38 revolver with no trace. And now this 21-year-old is fucking dead because he did this diss track. Based on my knowledge of this investigation and a conversation with others, I believe, and this is the agent in the affidavit, in this diss song, RW was dissing Henley, referring to Henley as the bro that makes some money, and that the RW must get shot in the face, not with a shit pistol, but shot in the face with a .38, for thinking his lackadaisical use of the studio and general
And let's talk about this, y'all. Let's talk about this. This indictment, right? That young boy being killed is going to be very crucial for Big U. This is going to be very crucial, because this was someone's child, and the manner that he was executed on the alleged complaint, he was killed and then thrown out into a field like he was disposed of like garbage. The way they explain it in the complaint is going to make the jury look at him like an animal. You understand me? And don't nobody know who is going to be picked on the panel, because the internet is available to everybody. Everybody got YouTube. All you got to do is watch a video that is similar to the videos that you like to watch, and something is going to pop up in your feed. And all it takes is a small amount of curiosity for you to click on that video in the know. And YouTube creates that algorithm. They pick what you like based upon what you watch and give you a selective feed. And they ask you, will you allow us to do this? And 9 times out of 10, people say, of course you can, because I need to know what else is out there. I can't just I'm not going to look for everything. I can't find everything. And not everybody I have conversations with about the things that we have in common on YouTube, they're all not going to tell me all the good things to find. So I need help. And YouTube does that. They create the algorithm. So imagine how many people on the panel of a jury possibly already know about this and have read the complaint. Imagine. He's done. Continue.
Representation by unique music is funny. RW was shot days later in the face, apparently with a revolver like a 38 that left no shell casings. That's one of the things that, if you shoot with a automatic, semi-automatic handgun, it spits out casings. If you shoot with a revolver, it keeps them in the gun, so you don't have any casings at the crime scene. Remember, so this is a multimedia myriad of evidence. So you've got Henley himself stated on an intercepted call, I'm gonna use the word fella, can't no fella beef with me, fella, because if he do, I'm gonna kill him. Period. I'm gonna murder him. That is his way of saying I'm a badass. I'm the toughest fella, and here my body of work to prove it. So this isn't a song. This is not a song. This is, and I'm the only fella still killing fellas today. You fellas retired. I didn't. They understand that. So you got him self-snitching on a phone call. So here's, it's because nobody's been watching.
That's insane. So, Eugene, the feds are probably saying, let's get this correct. This is what they're going to say to him in court. So, let's get this correct. According to you, you haven't retired from your lifestyle. According to this phone call, you are still a boss and you are still out there killing. What? This is my thing, right? And this is why these dudes don't ever learn. How haven't we paid attention, right, to the most, remember, organized crime, a term that was created because of Lucky Luciano bringing together the commission. Okay? Organized crime, right? They said because of how organized Lucky Luciano had the mob made something like 40, I think it was like 40, the equivalent of 40 or 50 billion dollars in a certain time frame because of Lucky's organized concepts of come together, stop talking like this to each other, stop doing this, stop killing each other, stay off the phone. These niggas, they wasn't getting wrapped up like that. But J. Edgar Hoover is smart. The FBI is smart. They were tapping and tapping and tapping. But it wasn't until it wasn't up until Gotti, right? They had Greg Scarpa, the boogeyman. They had him. They had conversations with him on the phone. Yeah, but they also used him to go and find those 2 Klan members who burned down that town in Mississippi, or go find out who did it. And he wound up kidnapping 2 of the Klan members and torturing them. And this was financed by the FBI. So, yeah, they had certain people. Yeah, a lot of them that they used. But they weren't able to do a large takedown until they had John Gotti talking on them tapes. John Gotti was talking and talking and talking, almost to the point where when you listen to it, it's like, damn, was he at a point where he said, you know what? I'll just take everybody down. Did he know? He had to. Because there's no way you're talking that loose on the phone. Then you watch The Sopranos and you see how they do. Let's go in the sauna. Let's turn the showers on. Let's go in the basement. Let's turn the music up. Didn't learn. Nobody learns. How do you not learn? How do you not learn? And you hear what Sammy the Bull says? When you listen to Sammy the Bull explain to you why he did what he did, he says, because John told on everybody. John gave me up and thought that I wouldn't find out. Listen, I bet y'all won't call John a snitch like 6ix9ine, even though they didn't kidnap John and they didn't extort John. That was because they were afraid of Sammy the Bull. Y'all won't call y'all won't run down on Sammy though. Y'all won't tell Sammy y'all gonna kill him, as old as he is. Why? Even though he didn't get kidnapped like 6ix9ine and he didn't get treated like 6ix9ine, he's standing on business. And he's letting you know, these dudes that y'all think is good, they were rats too. They're telling too. Whatever.
And that's why he hasn't gotten caught so far. But now you've got at least one or two murders at least. You've got these defrauded charities, and he just takes the money and puts it right in his own account. You've got defrauding the city.
You see what I just said? The lawyer said exactly what I said, because I read over the paperwork already, the majority of it, if not all of it. I read through a good portion of the 107 pages. So, and plus, I download information like it's nothing. So you hear what he's saying though, right? He's literally, they were able to match exact dollar amounts of instances where there were complaints or where they found reason to investigate. Where, oh, what's this? $30,000 over here? Oh, what's this? $60,000 over here? Oh, this is a $40,000 transfer? Oh, somebody got robbed this day at this $70,000? And then they look at his account and there's exactly $70,000 being transferred. You got to be the dumbest criminal. I mean, Wilson Fisk is smarter than Big U. Wilson Fisk had an enterprise though, Fisk Enterprises. Wilson Fisk ran for mayor of New York City. Wilson Fisk had the cops in his pocket. Fictional character, whatever you want to consider Wilson Fisk to be. But in the mind of the individual who created him, Wilson Fisk was much bigger than the Big U. Much smarter than the Big U. That's how much power Wilson Fisk had. As much violence he inflicted on the city of New York, the police knew who he was. They were afraid of him. Politicians knew who he were. They knew who Wilson Fisk was. They were afraid of him. So, at what point, I'm a 30-plus-year-old man, at what point do my elders get smarter? If I'm able to pinpoint different areas from my life, whether fiction or nonfiction, on how I learned not to do things like that. At what point do the elders get smarter? I can give you fiction or nonfiction of common sense reasons on why I would not operate like that. And shout out to Sue Surf. Shout out to Sue Surf. Why is Sue Surf one of the only people that was able to go on Vlad and tell Vlad, yo, niggas get locked up after doing your interviews, Vlad? I can't be saying too much. Yo, free Surf, man. Free the wave, man. Let me continue this.
Got, COVID funds. You've got, and the theft part of this is really a pittance compared to the other things. If you're convicted on that, you can get up to 20 years because that's the statutory limit on RICO. But if you take the murders and you can prove those murders up in connection, you can get life. And in some cases, you can get the death penalty, federally speaking, of course. So all I gotta tell you is we'll follow this. There's one more little tidbit in here, and that is the murder of Nipsey Hussle.
You talked about signing Nipsey. I mean, obviously, aside from being from the same area, how did you guys how did that end up, happening? And you told the story a lot before, so just kind of give us a quick.
Yeah.
If he had anything to do with this whatsoever, he shouldn't be talking about it.
My nephew TD, I was looking for artists. TD told me to go get Nip. I went and seek Nipped out of all the people I already been interviewing and talking to, and he was the shining light. He was the diamond in a pile of whatever. He was a diamond. Let me respect to my other homies. He was a diamond in a pile of other diamonds, but he
was a bigger diamond.
He was a shine.
Yeah. He was,
and then
he was the VVS.
He was the VVS.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And we had made a couple of moves and was trying to move through a couple of doors, and I vastly found out that I couldn't go through these doors. So when I went and got Steve Lobel. And I went and got Steve. Let Steve hear the music. Steve felt the same way I felt about the music. And I was like, boom. So I signed Nipsey to Unique Music, to my
That's UNEEK.
To Aramis Astrodome, to my label, to Unique Music. And then Steve was 10% management and I was 10% management because it didn't make no sense for us to go get another manager.
Right.
And so we started pushing on that. So I signed him to it. It was signed to a 10-year production contract, which started in 2009, which would end 2019.
Crazy.
Hello. But
so
now peep how he says I started the contract here and it will end in 2019. And he says, hello. So you laugh after you say it ends in 2019. That's to say, yeah, so, I get paid after he dies. What? Yo, this is just not smart. This is just not smart. I never liked this dude from, like I said, I don't judge people, but it was just something funny about him. Because I'm like, why is he saying all of this? But you know what, though? I'm not even going to lie. I was already put on by one of the bros. Very well. Official dude. Yeah, everybody knows him. Y'all know him. It's in multiple communities. He told me. I said, yo, bro, that's crazy what happened to Nip. And he straight up told me, oh, that happened because, he had issues with old dude. I said, word? And this is before I even heard of who Charleston White was. Before I ever heard of a Charleston White. Before I was paying attention to all of these older dudes. This one individual said to me, bro, I'll be honest with you, that happened because he had beef with old dude. Old dude, you gotta get out of here. I said, word? He said, yeah. And we continued on just like that. That was all he said. That was all he said to me. And in my head, I'm just like, yo. And the way he dismissed it is letting me know in my head, it is what it is. There's no reason for us to continue this conversation. It is what it is. Come on, man. Come on, man. When I tell you, it don't have to necessarily be karma. It could be another word for it, whatever you want to call it. But for me to have heard that years ago, when it happened, for me to hear that years ago, and here we are now, 2015. When did Nip pass away? When did Nipsey also pass away? Come on, man, that's Nipsey. March 31st, 2019. So 3 months into the year, right? About 6 years ago from now, 6 years ago from now, about 6 years and a week and a half, he passed away. And here he is on the podcast talking about he had a contract that started in this day and ended in this year. And they said, hello, are you serious? Come on. Y'all can leave y'all comments and all that. Phone numbers right there. Y'all can call up if y'all want. This nigga's nuts. He's insane.
You see that little hello? That's not a good look.
I ain't tripping off of that because, you know, it is what it is. But I do have that. You know what I mean? So,
Wait, so your deal with Nipsey was 10 years?
It's 10 years.
Was it 10?
10 years, 25% of publishing to Aramis Astronaut.
Oh, wow. So 09 to 2019.
09 to 2019.
Notice he say the real name. He don't say Nipsey. He say Aramis. He say his government name.
And they're going to use this in the trial. I guarantee it.
So technically, Victory Lab.
Hello.
Okay. Wow.
Wow.
Wow. Wow. So now watch him on No Jumper.
So he FaceTimed me and stuff like that. He was like, Nipsey just got killed. I'm like, 6-0. I didn't hear that. So I hang up with him. I called Nipsey and I'm like, Nipsey, what's up? He was like, oh, what's up with it?
Nipsey answered.
Nipsey answered. He answered the phone. So after I talked to Nipsey and I was like, yeah, I love you, cuz, or whatever like that. I'll see you later or whatever. So I hung up the phone. I thought Big U gave wrong information. 30 minutes later, the homies blowing me up like they just killed Nipsey.
You get a call from Big U telling you Nipsey just got killed.
Yeah.
You panic, call Nip. Nip answer the phone.
Yeah.
And 30 minutes after you get off the phone with Nip, he get killed.
Yeah.
Why is he talking about this on a broadcast?
I got it.
So you think he hit you a little too early?
Yep, he hit me a little bit too early because the homie Shitty.
This is fair game. This is absolute fair game. And guess what?
So when he says fair game, what he means by that is fair game for a prosecution. You know, to be innocent until proven guilty is one thing. To be indicted on charges is one thing. To be accused, alleged to have committed crimes is one thing, but to be convicted is something totally different. And that's what the prosecution is aiming for, a conviction. And when you give them so much information that it's not too much convincing they have to do, like you convinced, basically you did the convincing. You convinced us that you were this person. We didn't have to prove them. Like you helped them. You helped us convince them, and the other people around you helped convince that you are this monster that is being alleged that you are. So it's not an allege, it's the truth. Like that's they're going to be able to play all of these different tapes and these different videos from podcasts and different audio. They're going to be able to play all of this. I mean, he even got the audio, the video of him saying, yo, if you want to do music videos or movies or TV shows, just check in. If you don't check in, we're going to check in on you. We're going to check your equipment in and we're going to do this and do that. And it's like, yo, why are you saying this stuff? Like, you're someone's grandfather. Like, I'm not going to be talking, I don't talk like that now. So, you know what I mean? If I have an issue with somebody, most people will never know. I'll make the news before you know what's going on. I promise you that. And 9 times out of 10, that's what will happen. It has happened before. I'll make the news before you know what's going on. That's just how it is. You understand? Because I take matters into my own hand, no matter how severe, no matter how extreme or how drastic it may be. I don't do co-defendants. I don't do, hey, let's go and do this. No, because 2 people can keep a secret as long as one of them are not here. So that means that I can't trust everybody or anybody for that matter with everything. 95% of your life, everything could go okay. It could be decent. It could be all right. But that 5%, something goes left. and you decide that this is a drastic measure that you want to take, you don't bring other people down with you. You don't talk about the dirt from the past unless it's documented, unless there's police dash cam footage of it, unless there's body cam footage of it. You don't talk about the past. You don't talk about it. If nobody knows, be quiet. Never got caught. Be quiet. Gotta learn from these old dudes. That's one thing I can learn from this. Be quiet.
If he doesn't testify, how would this come in? Wouldn't it be hearsay? No, it wouldn't be hearsay because it's a conversation between co-conspirators. That's not hearsay in the federal world. All right, we're gonna do one more of these, and this is loose cannon, or we should say loose lips, because he's gonna sink his own ship. And listen to what he has to say about the PNB Rock murder.
Rock got killed in the
Roscoe's. Yeah. So I felt it was like super messed up because at the end of the day, it was me and Big Useless in there when it happened. So when it happened, I wish I could have just told him, like, bro, just give up the jury and we get it back to you later. But it just happened so fast, and he wasn't.
He's telling you that he's part of this. So let's say.
Now, I wouldn't necessarily say, right, as a lawyer, I would fight for him on that respect. Even though I would tell him, yo, it's stupid for you to talk like this. If I get you off of this case, if and when I get you off, stop talking like that on the podcast. Don't talk about what you did or what you were involved in. Talk about other people's business. That's public. Talk about all the stuff that's going on, the Yellow DZ and the Mo 3 situation and Trap Boy Freddy. Talk about stuff like that. That's public knowledge. Don't talk about nothing that you did that we don't know about. That's not in court records. Stop talking about it. Stop talking about stuff that's not in court records. I don't care how tough you are. Like, it's simple. Like, just stop. But I would argue for him on behalf of his attorney. I would argue for him. My client is saying that because he is affiliated with a gang that is notorious for doing these type of things, he is not particularly a part of that instance of a crime, but he understands that with his influence, he can reach out to the gang and let them know, hey, this is a good person. Can you please give that back? I would argue that for him. Absolutely. Because in that regards, yes, once again, when you have a certain power in the community, because this is a community that you live in, even though you may not still be actively involved, yes, you do things like that because you know there's an underground part of every area, every country is an underground. Every major city is an underground life. Different neighborhoods that people just don't go through. The government know this. The courts know this. They zone certain things off for a certain reason in real estate. They undervalue certain areas for a reason in real estate. So that's why when you add in these big celebrity names, it makes the case something totally different. That's why when you start pulling up these podcast recordings and seeing what these dudes are talking about, you're like, yo, they're saying everything. Now you see how real it is when you hear a legendary NBA player, Shaquille O'Neal, Adrian Broner. You understand? They mentioned all of these different people. MC Hansel, mentioning the young boy who he keeps allegedly killed and tossed out the whip. This is insane. This is bad. Listen. This is crazy, man.
You and I agree to rob a liquor store, but I don't know you have a gun. And, I'm not there for a murder. I'm just there for the cash that's in the register. But you fucking shoot somebody anyway. Guess what? Part and parcel of the whole thing. So if he's doing the negotiating for somebody to check in and they get shot for not checking in, he's guilty of aiding and abetting his murder.
He wasn't cooperating, and that's when they took it off of him by force. You get what I'm saying?
What do you say to a person who won't give up their jury when something like that's happening?
No, give it up, and then check in with the real people. So
and what is that? Checking with the real people. So okay, I just got robbed. Now I'm gonna go in and check in with the people because I probably got robbed by you guys, and so I'm gonna go check in with you guys, and you're gonna take a portion and give me something back. And then he got killed because of that.
We're gonna find a jury, and we're gonna get it because we know all the pawn shops, we know all the people that's gonna melt it down and everything like that. So as soon as it comes on their table, we got it. Okay, get it, go in that back room, make that phone call, put them on the phone. That's how it works.
On a podcast talking about this. So Big U's detention hearing is for March 31st, and his arraignment set for April.
So let me pull up this thing for y'all, man. This is March 27th. Oh, yeah, okay, today's the 28th. Okay, so this was updated yesterday. Okay, wow. Okay, so I'm gonna share this with you guys because this is the indictment. 43 count indictment. Let me change this real quick. 43 count indictment. 43. All right, let me see something. Put this up on the screen for y'all because this looks nuts. Hold on 1 second. This. Let me add the screen. They just updated the indictment, so okay, 43 count. So 43 count indictment. So let me just read this for you guys. This is kind of, let's see. Okay, here we go. There we go. Okay. So, Los Angeles federal grand jury has returned a 43 count indictment charging a music label owner and purported anti-gang activist who is a longtime leader of a South Los Angeles street gang with dozens of felonies including fraud, robbery, extortion, tax evasion, embezzlement of donations to his charity that receives public money, and running a racketeering conspiracy in which he allegedly murdered an aspiring musician. Wow. Now, this was as of yesterday. The Justice Department said this. Eugene Henley Jr., 58, aka Big U of the Hyde Park neighborhood of Los Angeles, is charged with 1 count of a conspiracy to violate the Racketeer Influenced and Corrupt Organizations Act, RICO, 2 counts of conspiracy to interfere with commerce by robbery and extortion. That's the Hobbs Act. Now, the Hobbs Act is a little dangerous because interfere with commerce by robbery and extortion. So commerce, meaning your local stores, your mom and pop stores, a jewelry store, a coffee shop, the bagel store, the bodega, a weed dispensary, like anything that would interrupt the community's And that's the Hobbs Act. And that right there is like a 15, 20-year charge, which is why it's dangerous. It's its own act within the charge, within the count. So like it's dangerous. Like I said, I think the minimum on the Hobbs that you can get if you were to plea out, based upon what I read, is like 10 or 12 years just on that. So even if you weren't the one who actually committed it, but you conspired to commit, which 2 counts of conspiracy to interfere, right. So it is conspiracy. So yeah, even if you're conspiring, you could still be charged as if you were the one who committed. They're just not going to charge you with the actual. It's not. It's going to be. So if you weren't the one who committed it, it's going to be the 2 counts of conspiracy, like he has to interfere with commerce. If it's a person who committed it, it's just going to be 2 counts of. It's just going to be interfering with commerce by robbery and extortion. 2 counts of interference, as opposed to 2 counts of conspiracy to interfere. Like you're not conspiring to do it, you did it. When you're conspiring, you're just putting it together. So that's the difference. So just to break that down to you guys, 5 counts of Hobbs Act extortion. Wow. 1 count. What? 5 counts of Hobbs Act extortion. Wow. 9 counts of attempted Hobbs Act extortion, 1 count of Hobbs Act robbery, 1 count of transportation of an individual in interstate commerce with intent that the individual engage in prostitution, Mann Act, which is, if you guys don't know, so the Mann Act, they created the Mann Act because of Jack Johnson. Jack Johnson, famous black boxer, 1920 to 1925. I want to say that's right around the time the Cotton Club opened up in Harlem, 1920, 1921. But the Mann Act was created because, so it was a racist issue. They created the Mann Act because Jack Johnson, a black boxer, back then, they didn't really have like a time frame on rounds. They would just fight. And Jack Johnson could fight 4 or 5 minute rounds. He could go 15 rounds, 20 rounds. These dudes are brawling, and they would bring in all of these different white boys. And none of these big white boys, big cornbread fed white boys, short, stocky, white, none of these white boys they brought in could beat Jack. Jack was beating all of them up. So, of course, back then, racism was very big. Jack had a thing for white women. So because white men were and still are so racist, what they did was they said, okay, cool, that's how we get him, his wife. They created the Mann Act, transferring persons over state lines, interstate lines, with the intent of them doing acts which benefit you or any criminal intent within the act to transport this person, whether it's drugs, whether it's sex, whatever it is, you transported them. So they caught Jack, right? And when the FBI went to go arrest Jack, back then, the FBI were just accountants. They didn't have weapons. So you know what they had to do? They had to call local law enforcement and U.S. Marshals to go and get Jack and arrest him. That's how the Mann Act was created. Okay, guys? Just a little bit, so you're not watching a person that's stupid. I'm not just no regular YouTuber or nothing like that. I don't come on here because the way I want. A lot of the times when I do these streams, I want these streams to be grand, and I understand I can't have every stream be like that, but sometimes it's better to just get the message out there. So even if the few people who do get it, at least they got it, and that's more important to me. That's more important to me. So, and plus, now that I've created so many different accounts with thousands and thousands of followers on it, now I can just take this, download it, and spread it. But okay, let's get back to this. 15 counts of wire fraud, 5 counts of embezzlement, conversion, and intentional misapplication of funds from an organization receiving federal funds, 1 count of bank fraud, 1 count of tax evasion, and 2 counts of willful failure to file a tax return. Okay, so 15 counts of wire fraud. So those 15 counts could be from instances where he extorted and took the money and transferred it with the intent of keeping it. embezzlement, 5 counts of embezzling funds. So those 5 counts could be where he may have extorted, and the amount that was extorted from either a person who filed the complaint or from their investigations. Any one of those 5 counts could be from when it was an exact amount, and they investigated or received the complaint, and that exact amount from the investigation or the complaint matched up with an account that they found that he was associated with. That would be their probable cause matching up with the exact truth, which is, hey, this 50,000 was stolen from this person. There's an account right here where he transferred it from this account to that account. They have all of that. So, oh man, that's insane. What kind of bank fraud? What kind of tax evasion? Yeah, tax evasion, not paying taxes in 2 counts of failure to file a tax return and not filing taxes. Okay, so Henley, a longtime member of the Rolling 60s neighborhood Crip Street Gang, has been in federal custody since March 19th after being charged in a federal criminal complaint. His arraignment is scheduled for April 8th in United States District Court in downtown Los Angeles. He has a detention hearing scheduled for April 10th, also in Los Angeles Federal Court. Also charged in today's indictments are, Sylvester Robinson, 59, a.k.a. Vay of Northbridge. Mark Martin, 50, a.k.a. Bearclaw of Beverlywood area, Los Angeles. Tremaine Ashley Williams, 42, a.k.a. Loose Cannon of Las Vegas. Armani Aflehe, 38, a.k.a. Mani of Koreatown neighborhood of Los Angeles. Frederick Blanton Jr., 43 of Los Angeles, and Tiffany Shanrika Hines, 51 of Yorba Linda. Wow. So now this is the crazy part about all of this, right? The crazy part about all of this is, if you notice in the complaint, let me make this a little bigger for y'all. If you notice in the complaint, let me go back to where the names are. Let me go back to where those names are. Wow. So basically, they didn't charge. What's the name? Brick Baby's not in this. Zaire. Brick Baby is not in this complaint. So Brick Baby skated. Brick Baby skated out of this. Yo, Brick Baby skated out of this. That's a fact. He skated out of this because he was in the original joint. This is the updated and amended 43 count indictment. This is the upgraded. The first one was just originally a complaint, but this is an upgraded. This is a 43 count indictment. This was upgraded as of last night, the 27th of March, 2025. Yes. Wow. Okay. Brick Baby. Okay, so Brick Baby slid up out of this. A lot of people gonna say Brick Baby's telling. A lot of people gonna say Brick Baby done gave somebody up or gave them information, or maybe he's just wearing a wire, which is the reason why they done got some of the information. They gonna say a lot of stuff. I can almost guarantee it. They definitely about to say a lot of stuff about Brick Baby. I can see it already. So now if Brick Baby is not on this complaint, then I'm assuming that Brick Baby's home. So if Brick Baby's home, then I'm going to be looking for Brick Baby to be popping up at Adam 22. I'm going to be looking for this. So because hey, they like making content. So hey, come and tell us what happened. Explain your case. Because you're not on this 43 count indictment, Brick Baby. And as we can see, longtime Rolling City neighborhood Crips leader charged in 43 count indictment alleging murder, extortion, fraud, and tax crimes. And we do not see Brick Baby's name on this. None of these names is Brick Baby's. None of these is Zaire. None of them. None of these say Brick Baby's name on it. None of these say Brick Baby's name on it. None of these names is Brick Baby's names. None of those names is Brick Baby's name, so that means that Brick Baby is not charged in the indictment. Brick Baby is not charged in the indictment. So that means that if Brick Baby is not charged in the indictment, then Brick Baby should be popping up on Adam 22. No jumper. He should be doing the podcast, and he should be explaining why he was able to slide up out of this. No, I'm not calling him a snitch. I'm not calling him a rat. I'm not saying he's an informant. I'm not saying he's working. I'm letting y'all know how people are going to approach this situation. They're going to say, how is you not in the complaint? How is you not in the 43 count indictment, the updated indictment, if you was in the original complaint? That's what they're going to say. I can almost guarantee it. They're going to say that. They're going to. But let me continue though. Let me not further disrupt the information. These defendants are in federal custody and are expected to be arraigned in the coming weeks. As the indictment alleges, Mr. Henley led an enterprise whose conduct ranged from murder to sophisticated fraud that included stealing from taxpayers and a charity. The acting United States Attorney, Joseph McNally, eradicating gangs and organized crime is the Department of Justice's top priority. Today's charges against the leadership of this criminal outfit will make our neighborhoods in Los Angeles safe. So now this is what I'm saying. Also, you have to remember why this is political, because the Olympics are coming to Los Angeles. The Olympics are coming to California. They cannot afford to take chances with these gangs trying to have people check in. Do you know how many people come to these areas when the Olympics come? Do y'all understand? Do you understand how many people come to New York when the Wimbledon is here? When they playing that tennis? Do y'all understand how New York is lit? How much money these tourists is bringing into New York? So this is why it's so silly to have a check-in method where you got people paying taxes through processes of extortion methods when you can just make money and let these people pay because you have a product, a merchandise, or a service that is needed for a cheap price. Why not put homies in position like that? Put the homies in position. You got the power to do it. Yo, check it. We're going to charge them this. We're going to charge them that. Yo, listen, we open up this spot over here. We give them half off at the dispensary during Wimbledon. Everything half off. All $30 apes is $15. All $80 ounces is $40. All $150 ounces is $75. All 300 ounces is $150. So on and so forth. Like, why? Do the extra? Because now, look, now you wrapped up and you somebody's grandfather and you in a federal detention center. You can't get up and make breakfast when you want to. No more just scrambling eggs and bacon and making toast and a fresh pot of coffee. Ain't none of that. And no hopping on the phone and seeing if you can hop on any interviews and collecting a bag. Ain't none of that. You ruined that because you wanted to extort people. When you could have been using the money from some of the dirt you did to try to get you a better life and walk away from the dirt. Niggas is crazy, man. Niggas bugged out, man. According to the indictment returned on Wednesday from 2010 until March. Bro, do you understand how crazy it is that the indictment is from 2010 to March 2025? That's why I said the stuff that's in the indictment is literally from like weeks ago. They're literally saying 15 years up until this month. What? Identified in court documents as the Big U Enterprise operated as a mafia-like organization that utilized Henry stature and long-standing association with the Rolling 60s and other street gangs to intimidate businesses and individuals in Los Angeles. So, that's another thing too, because it's like, why are you intimidating people as opposed to bringing money to your area? Why intimidate these businesses when you can just do business with them? Show them that you have something to offer them. Yo, I'll bring clients to y'all. How about you guys offer this service? I'll bring clients to y'all. How about we get in business like this? You could be bringing them clients as opposed to robbing, extorting. Like, this dumb. Niggas, like, listen, I'm not going to talk about everything that's going on in New York City because I don't know everything that's going on in New York City, but I do know this. In certain neighborhoods, ain't nobody checking in. That's number one. When they checking in, they calling and saying, yo, what's good? Pull up, gang, I'm here. And that's it. That's number one. And number two, extortion. Harlem. People love going to Harlem because it's full of love. You can go all over and see black people. You can see all these beautiful places, different art, food, real estate, business, anything you want to get a taste of. They got it in Harlem. You think we gonna allow gangs to try to run through Harlem and tear Harlem up? Bad enough that we can't get politicians to appreciate Harlem the way we do. You gonna think the gangs is gonna tear that up? Not happening. Because you got some diehard brothers, young and old, who are really on it like that, that'll protect where they are because they love where they are and everything that it helped make them. This old dude, somebody's grandfather, Grandpa Eugene, is tripping. He's tripping. He wasted his time. He's been home all these years. He wasted his time. I gotta learn from this. If I don't learn from nothing, I gotta learn from this. But one thing I can say though, he's 58. This man got 20 plus something years on me. I know for sure 20 years, I'll be able to look back on this. If this is a YouTube or whatever it's going to be from 20 years from now, I'll be able to come back from this and do a 20-year anniversary and say, hey, I lasted. Okay. While Big U's enterprise at times partner with the rolling 60s and other criminal elements for mutual benefit, the Big U enterprise is a distinct and independent criminal enterprise engaged in criminal activity including murder, extortion, robbery, and trafficking, and exploiting sex workers. Fraud and illegal gambling. Exploiting sex workers? Wow. They talk about how Henley dragged the victim's body off Interstate 15 in Las Vegas and left it in a ditch. Obtaining COVID-19 business relief funds for Unique Music, which operated at a loss and was ineligible because they didn't have any gain. So that's the thing. Like, you weren't supposed to file for any PPP loans or anything like that if you weren't working, if you weren't like making the money. You understand? Like, if you weren't, right, if you weren't as a business, right, if you're operating in a negative, meaning that you aren't up for the year, if you're negative on the business, meaning that, you know, you're doing less and less and less every month, you're not doing more and more, 9 times out of 10, you're in the negative. So when they say in the terms of you being in the negative, when you know that as a business, you're not supposed to apply for relief funds. You're not supposed to. That's in the policy. But a lot of people didn't read that. That's why a lot of people got caught up. But they're using it against them now, as you can see. So it's insane. It's crazy. Hold on one second. Let me get y'all back to this page. Here we go. Where we at? Right. Okay. So finally, indictment alleges that as part of the racketeer conspiracy during the early morning hours of March 19th, while law enforcement was arresting other members of the enterprise, Henley turned off his cell phones and fled his home. That day, Henley posted to the Crenshaw Cougars Instagram account claiming racial profiling, blaming his co-defendants and opponents. Notice they said and opponents. So and opponents meaning WAC 100, meaning anybody else that's against him, right? So they say co-defendants, that, you know, loose cannon, and then opponents, which will be a WAC. So for the criminal charges filed against him in the federal criminal complaint, and instructing the public not to associate with his co-defendants and known opponents. Henley eventually surrendered. Remember, because like he said, yo, don't rock with WAC 100. So that's what they mean. Like, this is what I'm saying. Like, talking too much online, they were literally able to update this complaint and say that on March 19th, which was just last week, 9 days ago, pretty much Wednesday, just last Wednesday. They're basically saying last Wednesday he went on Instagram. Yeah, this is nuts right here, right? They literally updated this complaint yesterday and said, yo, last Wednesday he, in the early morning hours of March, while other members were being arrested, he turned his phone off, fled his house, and then went on the Crenshaw Kruger's Instagram account to go against anybody that he feels may have had something to do with him being arrested, and then told the public not to deal with anybody who had something to do with him being arrested. So, like, this is how fast they were able. That literally just happened 9 days ago, and it's in the complaint. Like, it's in the 43 count indictment. Like, that's insane. So, like, if that right there doesn't let you know that we have to at some point learn from these dudes that you can't talk on a podcast about anything that you are involved in, especially if it's illegal. Like, it's just not smart. It's not smart, man. Wow, man. They put it right in the indictment. That day he posted, Henley eventually surrendered to federal law enforcement without his phones. An indictment is merely an allegation. All defendants are presumed innocent until proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt in court. So, that's cool. If convicted, Henley Robinson Martin. Hold on. Okay. Robinson and Martin. Okay. If convicted, Henley Robinson and Martin will face a statutory maximum sentence of 20 years in federal prison. Maximum. 20 years in prison for a racketeering conspiracy count. The bank fraud count is punishable by up to 30 in federal. Hobbs and robbery, extortion, and wire fraud each carry a maximum sentence of 20. See, Hobbs. So the Hobbs is, like I said, 20. Like, they say maximum 20, yeah, but they're not trying to give you a minimum of 10 or 12 years on that. Some 15. I've seen them only knock off like 5 years, and you're like, what the hell is that? And you probably gave up a whole gang of people just to get 5 years off. The man at count and the theft concerning programs receiving federal funds count carry a penalty of up to 10 years in federal prison. And the tax evasion count carries a statutory maximum of 5 years in federal prison. Wow, that's insane. That's insane. That's insane. Yeah, well, listen, man. The FBI's Los Angeles Metropolitan Task Force on Violent Gangs, IRS Criminal Investigation, the United States Department of Justice Office of Inspector General, the Los Angeles Police Department, and the North Las Vegas Police Department are investigating this matter. So the Vegas Department is working with Las Vegas. The Las Vegas Department is working with Los Angeles. You see how many departments is in this? The Department of Justice Office, Inspector General, Violent Gangs, Metropolitan Task Force, FBI, IRS Criminal Investigation, Los Angeles Police Department, which is local, and then the Las Vegas Police Department, local. Like, it's a crazy indictment. It's a crazy indictment. Assistant United States Attorney Kevin J. Butler and Gina A. McCabe of the Violent and Organized Crime Section are prosecuting this case. So I believe this is the lady, Jenna, is the lady who was on the Nipsey Hussle case, where homeboy who was sentenced on that. So this is going to be interesting, but we'll see how this one plays out. I'll definitely be back later on to break something else down, do some reactions for you guys, but definitely break down some other things because it's a lot that's going on. We definitely got to talk about Oprah Winfrey and her subpoena for this whole Russell Simmons case. So we'll talk to you guys about that because I know a lot of people don't know about that. But yeah, man, learn from this, man. Definitely learn from this, man. If you don't learn from nothing, learn from this. We don't have to You don't have to tell people what you did or things that you were involved in the past, especially if you're the only person that knows about it, or or if it hasn't gotten out. Even if it's other people, you don't got to be a loner. Not everybody, is the same, but if there's other people that know and it hasn't gotten out to the masses or law enforcement, don't go online or on the camera talking about it. It's not smart. Love, life, and loyalty is the motto, though. Stay safe, stay real, and stay true. You rock with me, I rock with you. Battle time.